Hey, welcome. What kind of book do you want to write and publish? Well, today we are going to look at Christian inspirational books. Specifically, we're looking for books by Bob Goff. I was on a clarity call with someone recently, and her inspiration book is Bob Goff's Dream Big and Other Books by Bob Goff. So we're going to look him up and see where he's located in a Barnes & Noble. And I really like the covers on Bob Goff's books. Whoever designs his covers, and it may be a different person each time, we'll see if we can find that in the books. It may say. Many publishers do credit their book designer in the book. So we'll look and see if we can find that out, because I like his covers. A lot of times when, in my day job, when we are trying to give cover ideas for a book to our designer, we pull book covers that we like. And sometimes those we don't like, so we say we don't want this. And I tend to be drawn to those covers. They're colorful, the text is big and clean, and easy to read the cover, the title of the book. So yeah, so that's what we're going to look at today. Now, Christian inspirational is kind of like Christian self-help. They're not quite the same as self-help books, and they're also not part of the spirituality section in most bookstores. Christian retail has gone through huge changes in recent years. A lot of the stores have closed. A lot of the sales are online now. So that's something to take into consideration if you're going to publish a Christian book. Where is it going to be sold? Where is it going to be seen? There's actually been a lot of consolidation of the Christian publishing landscape in recent years as well. The Big Five have been buying up a lot of the larger Christian houses. But there's still plenty of independent publishers doing Christian publishing, and a lot of small presses. There's a lot of Christian self-publishing. There's Christian hybrid publishers. So Christian publishing is almost its own industry. I know I say that every time, but once you start getting into it, you find out that there is a lot happening. So we're gonna go in and look at that today. We're at Barnes & Noble, and it's gonna be probably crowded because it's a holiday, but we'll do the best we can. Off in the religion section, and yeah, this is interesting to see what's here in the religion section, but we did find some of Bob Goff's books. So Dream Big is here. He's also got a workbook. So we'll take these two over somewhere where we can look at them more closely, but I do want to look and see what else is kind of around here. These are obviously in alphabetical order by the author's last name. But if you look more closely, this is religion. So there are all sorts of books here, not just Christian, which they're used to separate them out. But they must have done a reshelving of some sort. All right, so let's take a look at these more closely. We've got Dream Big Study Guide, and then the book Dream Big. And I brought this so I can measure. So Dream Big is 6 by 9. Study guide is 5.5 by 8.5, confirmed with my trusty measuring tape. All right, so lovely cover, nice and bright, gets your attention, nice big words, love this cover. And the publisher is Thomas Nelson. So Thomas Nelson is actually owned by, I forget, Hachette or HarperCollins, one of the big guys. So, like I said, a lot of the publishers have been bought recently, in recent years. So let's look at the category. It's self-help, motivational, and inspirational. So somewhere, though, it's Christian, because it's Thomas Nelson. So I won't get into BISAC codes today, but anyway, interesting how they categorized it. I did want to see who the cover designer was, so they do show us that. So we'll see if that's the same cover designer on all of them. Jacket design, Ian Royal, Nelson, and Daniel Chestnut. Okay, so first thing I notice is nice plain end pages. So, we've seen other books recently that had color in this section. This one does not, but it's a lovely book, nice cream paper. It does look like most of the other self-help books that we've been looking at. It's got different parts, and it has, let's see how many chapters. It looks like 20 some odd chapters. And yes, this one has many chapters. 29 chapters in 7 parts. It's also in that sweet spot between 250 and 320 pages. So let's see what the page count is. All right, we're at 235 plus a couple, so 236, 238, somewhere in there. So again, that's kind of your page count where you want them. And the cost is so tiny, $26.99. Okay, so this is a great example if you want to use this as an inspiration book for a Christian self-help book. This is good to see how it's actually quite hefty. There's a lot of content in here. He's got a lot of information if he's doing 27 chapters. All right, so then he's got a study guide, which kind of makes sense to do. And this is more common with if you have a program or something like that, and then you want to have a workbook or study guide with it. So this is paperback. It's also by Nelson Books, $13.99. Oh look, cover design on the back is by the same. So of course, because it's the same, you can see how the design is the same with these rays and the same, you know. So that makes sense that it would be the same cover designers. Really like this cover. I like the blue and the yellow that goes through it. And so then the workbook, interesting with the little, it's black and white, but you've got this shading, and on some of the pages, not on the workbook, we'll see some of these pages have these little edges. I don't know what that's all about and why some of them have them and some of them don't, if it's just to keep the sections separate. So that's interesting. So without getting into like the actual content of this, of how it's laid out, this is a good idea for those of you, I know there's a few people in the group that I'm talking with who are doing a book and a workbook. So this is a great example if you want to see someone who did that. What did they make a workbook from the book? So you'd have to read both to get a good idea of how they organize it, but that's a good thing to do. So I'm around the corner in the religion section. It's a very big section. There's nothing on the shelves to tell you what you're looking at and what this group of books is, because I found another book that I thought would have been with his other book. So here's another book by Bob Goff. This is the one I really love, this cover. The black, I didn't realize it had so much black, but I often have seen it with this. And I don't know if it's a companion to another book. I'd have to look that up. But let's take a closer look at this to see who designed this cover. Try to find a place that wasn't under a speaker, but I'm having trouble with that, and not near the bathrooms. Okay, anyway. This is a journal, I believe, 365-day journey, or more a devotional. So this is a devotional, and it's 365 days, so one a day throughout the year. So this is a hardcover, case bound, and it's probably Thomas Nelson. Yep, so that's his publisher, Thomas Nelson. Here we go, art design by, and this is different art design, Belinda Bass. Cover design by Connie Gabbert. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see if they work with, you know, if they are they employees of Nelson or are they freelance, because you get both. This one's kind of scratched up. Now I want to make a comment about black books because you can see it here. See the scratches? Black gets scratched quite easily. Now a hardcover case bound is a little better than if it had a jacket, but it's still, I don't like having black books because you can tell when they get scratched up. So anyway, that's just personal. Also, I don't like white books because you can tell when they get dirty. So I like colorful books. This one is $22.99. That's a good price for a pretty thick hardcover, and obviously it's going to have around 360 some odd pages because it's 365 days, and 419 pages, 420 pages. So also interesting to see white pages. So again, I'm always into, is it white or cream? This is white, but it's got a lot of information. So that's a really good price for a 420 page book. Yeah. You know, we looked at children's books last week over in the children's section, but they have children's books here in the religion section as well. So there's a bunch of bays of children's books. And so I'm not going to get into those today. We may look at those another day, but just wanted to show that. Went around the corner again, another corner, and again, I have no idea what these are over here. Books on prayer. I can't really tell what the organization is, but here is another Bob Goff book. And I don't even know if it's supposed to be here or if it just happens to be here. But so let's take a look at Love Does. Forward by Donald Miller, who I think is the Story Brand guy. Let's see if it says. I don't remember. So anyway, that's a good question. Okay, so we've got Love Does. We've still got our 6x9 journal here. So again, this one's 5.5 by 8.5. Paperback. Again, Thomas Nelson. Again, with these teeny tiny letters and ISBN, $17.99. Now see, this says religion, spirituality, which is what I would have expected the other one to say. So this is an earlier book, now in paperback. So it was in hardcover. And how do I know that? It's a New York Times bestseller, and generally New York Times bestsellers are hardcover. So this is the paperback version of the New York Times bestseller. When something does well in hardcover, they wait a year or more, depending on how the sales are going, before they release it in paperback. So now it's in paperback. And we can see how long it's been out by looking at a copyright page. And whenever you do a book, please have a copyright page. Okay, 2012 is when this one came out in paperback. So this one's been out for a while. And look how many chapters. It's got 22 chapters. I do not know what this book is about. Discover a secretly incredible life in an ordinary world. So again, Christian inspirational. So this would possibly be another way to see how to organize, but he obviously does 20-something chapters in his other books, so that's kind of his way of writing. What would be interesting to see is how each chapter is organized. Is it one story? Is it a lesson? Is it a method or a step in what he's encouraging people to do? Within Christian books, you can kind of take sermons and collect them into a book. And so, is it possible that these were somewhere sermons at one point? I don't know. So that's just some things to consider if you're writing and publishing a Christian inspiration book. Is again finding a book that you like the way it's structured in order to structure yours. And then he's got, what is this on the back? Discussion questions. You can get discussion questions on your website, on his website. So that's a good idea if you're doing a book and you want to have extra questions. You can do that. And I've seen that in business books as well, and health books, where you can go to their website and get some questions for discussion or other information. All right. So that is his book. Oh, and cover design is by Connie Gabbert, and she is the same designer on this one. So some of his are similar. I do see the same color. I don't know, maybe they kind of went together. All right, Bob Goff. I'm having to really hunt to find books that are not by the top publishers in Christian publishing or even spirituality publishing and religion. It's taking quite a hunt. You can just see these names on the bindings. Most of these, if you pull one out and then look at it, you're like, oh, that's a smaller publishing. No, it's owned by one of the big guys. But I found 4, and I want to take a look at them. There's also a lot of books in here that don't belong. Okay, I had to move. It was getting crowded. So I found some books that are, one is self-published, and then the others are by smaller independent publishers, just to show you that they're not all the top 5, but there's just a lot over there. So this is a book that is self-published. I looked them up, westmetro.org, but I immediately had a clue because it was, it's print on demand, so that's the key that lets you know it's print on demand. And this is a good size, 107 pages, so, you know, I know 100 is about the minimum for a print on demand book, and you can see why, because look how thin it is. So you do want to try to get something a little more than 100 pages is what I would recommend. This is good, though they have good text. They could have larger margins, that would help spread it out a little more. The kerning and the lettering is, the spacing between the lines can help you get more white space on a page, because these are very tight margins. So anyway, this is a self-published book. The rest of these are independent publishers, so this is interesting. It's The Gospel and Stranger Things. Again, it felt like a self-pub because of the cover that's matte, but Lexham Press is the publisher here, and I looked them up, and they're an independent publisher. It's been around for a while, and they have 100 and some odd pages, 140 plus pages, so that's good page count. This is very well designed, but of course they're taking the design from the movie, so you see the text is going to be the same text that's used in the title of the book and of the movie itself, so that ties it in. So they have some design direction taken from, not the movie, the television show. So and see, they even also have they have pretty thin margins as well, but so they could have made it even longer if they wanted, but they don't really need to. At 140 pages for a paperback, that's a good page count. So and they get a little more with the specialty chapters. I'm not a fan of the black, but it goes with the show again, so it makes sense. So interesting. This is this is a book about Ida B. Wells and the publisher, Church Publishing Incorporated. I looked them up, and they've been around for a very long time, and they publish books for Episcopal churches, and they do hymnals is how they got their start. So this is 150 pages. It is not print on demand though, so it is a short run or a regular offset printing on white paper, which makes sense because they're a more scholarly press, or this is a more scholarly book anyway. So this is good. They have a little better margins, and you can tell it's scholarly because of the footnotes here. So that was interesting to find. And once you look at these, you can see why these are by smaller publishers and not by the big five. And then Strength to Love, it looks like this is a reprint of Dr. Martin Luther King's book, and it's by Fortress Press, and they're an independent publisher, Christian publisher that's been around for a long time. This is also a regular print, so we're at 168 pages, 168 pages. Now see, they have nice margins. It's a pretty design as well. There's just some unique design in it. If you look at the text, they also have photos at the beginning of each chapter, which can be a little hard to see in black and white, but it's kind of goes with the timing of the book and, you know, the era that it's about. And I don't know what the original book looked like, if it had these photos in it or not. It could have, because again, this is a reprint of a book that was written by Dr. Martin Luther King. So the thing I wanted to point out though is this is a little bit of an expensive touch, these on a paperback, to have these folds, but it does make it nice. Okay, so that was interesting. That was a lot to find. We found four of Bob Goff's books, which is actually good. He has written a lot of books, and so it's says a lot to the sales of the books and to the material in them that more than one of his books, not just his new book, is there at a Barnes & Noble, at a chain bookstore that is not focused on Christian publishing, or sorry, Christian books, but it has all kinds of books. So we found 4 of Bob's books, took a look at them, saw that 2 of them had the same designer, and then the other 2 had the same designer. And it's possible that the second 2 went together. I'd have to go look it up and see if they were supposed to kind of be somewhat part of the same, not series, but just something that he was publishing at one point. I think Dream Big is the newest book, so that's got a newer cover designer probably. And then we found some independent, smaller independent publishers who are not part of the big 5 or the big 2 or however many there are now. Since everybody owns everybody else, it seems like. But yeah, and see, that's normal. In the chain store, you're gonna have mostly the big publishers. It's unusual to have as many independent publishers, depending on the category. If we go into social science and history, or when we do, we're going to find some of the other independent publishers. But it was a bit of a stretch to find the ones I did find. So yeah, so that was interesting. If you are interested in publishing Christian nonfiction, inspirational, that kind of gives you a brief glimpse into some of the things that are happening. As I tell everybody, if you are writing and publishing a book, find a few inspiration books to help you with your structure of your own book. And you can use that to look at if you are self-publishing. When you are self-publishing, be sure and look at what other books do so that you make sure that your book has the same formatting if you want your book to look professional. You know, some people just want to put a book together and have it up and they're not as concerned about how professional it looks. But if you want your book to look standard or professional or like most other books, it's not hard. All you have to do is look at what other books do. Yeah, and then there's a few things you can take into consideration that you might not be thinking about, like margins, how many words on a page. You don't have to count every single word, but you can just look approximately at how books are designed to get an idea of that. I won't geek out too much over that. I could go on and on about how books are designed because that's a lot of what I work on in my day job. But it is fun to look at books and see how they're made if you're considering self-publishing. But even if you're going to be traditionally published, it doesn't hurt to look and see what other books look like for when you're writing your manuscript. Also, when you're going to be doing a book proposal, you need to be able to tell the agent or the publisher what your titles are, comparable titles to your own book. So you want to find similar books to yours, the one that you're writing, that you can tell them about. And we can go more into that on websites and on IG, on Instagram and stuff like that. All right, so that was fun. Let me know what other books do you want to see. It's really fun if we have a specific author that we're looking for, because I could go through and pick out books that I love. I found a whole bunch of novels that I would like to buy, but I don't have time to read, so I didn't buy them today. But I'd like to know what you guys want to look at. So I do know I've had a request for middle grade reading, so books for kids that are in the middle grades, and that's a range of books, so we'll look at those in the future. And then I personally want to look at the writing books, because those are fun and they're all good, and those, again, I would love to read all of them. And I've read quite a few, but there's always more. But yeah, let me know. There's so many sections there in the bookstore. Tell me what you want to see. I will film it with pleasure. And yeah, so talk to you next time.